2,000 feet. Helicopter operating west of runway 36 at or below 600 feet. Use caution for numerous birds in the vicinity of the airport. Read back all runway hold short instructions and runway assignments. Advise Space Coast Tower. You have ATIS information Oscar. Space Coast Tower, ATIS information Oscar 16470, observation, wind 34010, visibility.
Okay, Oscar. Alright, so once your water temperature gets up into the green range there, we can do what's called the systems check. So I'll turn fuel pump 1 and 2 on, and then over your right toe, you'll see a fuel pressure gauge, right? So you look for a drop, turn 1 off, turn it on, it drops and rises, turn 2 off, turn it on, it drops and rises, right? I'll keep 2 off for now. Then we go to our ignition. So 2 fuel pumps, you need positive pressure to run this engine. If you lose both fuel pumps, the engine dies. So that's why you have 2 of those. Ignition, for each spark plug, there's 2 spark plugs per cylinder. Turn 1 set of spark plugs off, the engine goes down about 50 RPM.
Space Coast Tower,
turn it back on.
5 Delta, holding short of 36, ready for...
And it goes back up. Alright, you turn 2 off, goes down, back on. If you turn both of those off, the engine would die. Alright, you turn 1, FADAC, that's your ECU, electronic control unit. The green light went out, turn it back on, and then goes through a built-in test. What you're doing is, there's 2 of these, so if one of the ECUs fails, the other one picks up the load. If you lose both the ECUs, the engine will die. So 2 of everything, right? Redundancy. You turn the switch off, the green light went out, turn it on, the yellow and 2 flashes are red. So the built-in test is good. That's our systems check. We go from right to left. Every aircraft is a little bit different, depending on if it's configured with the turbo or not. That test is a little bit different because on the 162Fs, they have secondary injectors as well. So when you flip one of the ECU switches off, you hear a momentarily change in engine noise, and it gets a little bit more richer because it's going to secondary injectors. So if you turn FADAC 1 off, so there's a change in engine noise. Not in these because you only have 1 primary injector per cylinder. So they got rid of the secondary injectors. So there's differences there, but I can train you if you guys do get a 162F either way. I've flown all the different models. Alright, and then me, I have a custom mod here. This blue toggle switch is a intercooler fan. I use the fan primarily for hovering, and it's a drawer fan, so it's pulling air, cool air from the bottom of the tub through the intercooler to cool it down. At flight, there's a scoop there, it gets ram air, so it's not a big deal. But I just run it the whole time. Alright, so once we get up to about 140, get a minute or so, we're going to run the engine up. Alright, so on the collective lever, there's a motorcycle grip, so you roll it outwards to increase throttle. So I'm going to start rolling it outwards. We're going to bring our engine RPM and rotor RPM up to 100%. So you can see that the engine drives the rotor RPM, the R on the left. The engine's here, RPM, 100% is 3,900, 100% is 520 on the main rotor. And what we're doing here is we're doing what's called Sprite clutch check or splitting the needles. The engine will come down fast and the rotor will slowly wind down to make sure that that freewheeling unit disengages. You see that, how fast it came down? That's our low rotor engine horn. And that's a good check. You do that every time you fly. Yep, I just rolled the throttle off. And that ensures that we have auto rotation capability on the aircraft.
Sector 39 Echo Bravo, holding short of runway 36 for...
Sector 39 Echo Bravo, runway 36, clear for takeoff, make right close drive, report mid-fire.
Alright. Temperatures, pressures.
Echo Bravo, clear for takeoff.
Rotor's 100%, overhead panel switches as required, both fuel pumps are on. We have fuel, we're topped off. We're clear right, center, and to the left. We're going to bring it up, nice and easy, take our time. Alrighty, and we're going to slide to the right, using throttle to keep at 100% on the rotor. We got a fixed wing traffic getting ready to take off. We're just going to take off due west. Flight controls and center of gravity feel good. Space Coast Tower, helicopter 8006 Alpha.
Helicopter 8006 Alpha, Space Coast Tower.
Helicopter 806 Alpha is at the southeast T hangar ramp with information. Oscar, like present position departure due west to exit the class Delta.
Helicopter 06 Alpha, depart from present location, will be drone risk, winds are 350 at 6, you can cross runway 36.
Okay, departure at my own risk, clear to cross runway 36 on course, helicopter 06 Alpha. Alright, this is a max performance takeoff I'm going to demonstrate. This only can be done in the turbo. We're going to come straight up. You cannot do this on a normal 162F. We're going to nose it over and go. That's the power of the turbo right there that gives you. You cannot do that without it. And then we're transitioning to forward flight. Manifold pressure, if you see that gauge on the instrument panel there, is an indication of engine power or torque. But usually on this aircraft, 35 inches is good climb power. I have a maximum manifold pressure of about 42 to 43, depending on atmospheric conditions. I'm pitching for about 65 miles per hour with the cyclic stick here on my right hand, and I keep my left arm locked.
This change Brew 5 Delta FPD.
Clear left. And I'm using the anti-torque pedals to keep that yaw string in trim there. So the yaw string, if you can see on the compass, if we're too much to the right, the yaw string goes out. You see how it goes out there? So I add left pedal, and then it lines it up. If I'm too much to the left, you see it's out to the left, and then I add right pedal to line it up. And that's basically what you're doing with the pedals in forward flight. You basically can take your feet off the pedals in forward flight. You want to keep them up there because if you do have a loss of engine power, you got to add left pedal to keep her in trim. Otherwise, the nose just yaws to the right. And then cruise power is about 30 inches. We're going to go at 500 feet. Once you're at your desired altitude, you use the cyclic to pitch for altitude. So I want to maintain 500 feet. I'll just use the pitch. Then you can feel the wind. So that's turbulent wind right now, right? And that's about as bad as it gets. The nose will yaw left and right, and it has a tendency to want to weather vane into the wind. And if you need to make a big altitude adjustment, you can just drop the manifold pressure a couple inches and just come back down. So I want to come back down to 500 feet. I'll reduce it to about 27 inches.
Space Coast Tower, Texas 39 Echo Bravo.
And then we start a little bit of a descent. Vertical speed is below the transponder. We're at about 100, 200 feet per minute rate of descent.
Second 39 Echo Bravo, runway 36, clear landing.
Texas 39 Echo Bravo, cleared to land, runway 36.
That's Highway I-95 at 407 interchange there. So that's the interstate. And then 12 o'clock where you see the marshy area, that's the St. Johns River Basin. And we're going to do a nice little low-level run through that, and then we'll come back to the airport. So how do you like it so far? How's it feel? Good?
Yeah, I don't even get the speed.
No, you don't have a sensation of speed?
Yeah, it doesn't
Yep.
seem like...
Yeah, you're doing 70, 80 miles an hour. I mean, faster than an ultralight, but not as fast as a regular airplane. I mean, you could do 100 miles an hour, but, you know, I'll pull in the manifold pressure, a little bit of right pedal, a little bit of throttle. And then as you go faster, you get more vibration. So it's not as comfortable doing 100 miles an hour as it is 80, 90 miles an hour. So the power's in there. You see the speed start coming up. The nose attitude is lower, as you can see, as you speed up.
15740, Space Coast Tower, hold short runway 36.
There's 90 miles an hour. And you feel the increase in the vibrations. And there's about 100 miles an hour right there. The nose has the tendency to want to balloon up the faster you go because of that dissymmetry of lift. But there's some aerodynamic stuff there. You know, if you do learn how to fly helicopters, you know, your instructor should go through that with you. If you do want to get one, you know, we'll go through all that stuff that you need to know as a helicopter pilot. Tower, helicopter 06 Alpha, like frequency change at this time.
Helicopter 06 Alpha, shake, shake, group.
All right, talk to you guys soon. 06 Alpha. Alrighty, so I'm going to climb up just a little bit here to about 1,000 feet. We're going to demo what an auto rotation is going to feel like. So what's going to happen is initially, I'm going to lower the collective. You're going to feel like you're going to get light in your seat just for a second. The aircraft is going to yaw a little bit. We're going to keep her in trim. And then we're going to enter that auto rotation and start gliding down. You'll see it. We start coming down at about 1,500 feet per minute, but the aircraft's completely controllable. The engine will be at idle, and we'll come down low level here over the St. Johns River. All right, so I will count down from 3. We're going to do it from 1,000 feet. This is probably the most scariest maneuver you'll learn in the helicopter, but once you're used to it, it's second nature. It's not a big deal. This is what's going to save your life in a true engine failure. All right, so there's 1,000 feet. I'm going to level it off. And if we did lose the engine, we got a big landing area here off to our left there, and we could auto and safely walk away. It'll be a pain to get it out, but in 3, 2, 1, we lower the collective all the way down. Roll the throttle off, left pedal. Maintain the rotor RPM with the collective, cancel the horn. Modulating the collective up and down to maintain 100 RPM, or I'm sorry, 100% on the rotor RPM. And that's it, you're established. If you lost your engine, this is how it would be. Just like that. You can maneuver it, do what you need to do, and then at the bottom you would flare it and recover. I'm going to join the needles. And we're going to fly out of it. So I just wanted to see that. People want to know what happens when you lose the engine. That's what happens. Now, it happens a lot faster if you're low level like this, but it's still survivable. And this is what it's all about, low and slow with the helicopter. But I'm sure you do a lot of this type of flying in your ultralight, right? You guys like to do this kind of low-level stuff, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
So you'd be right at home down here. A lot of birds out today. You can see once you got a fixed power setting with the collective and the pedals, you're not really touching those two. Everything is in the cyclic right now. So my rolling to the left and to the right. But I tell people it's got kind of a little bit of a lag to it because think of yourself as like a pendulum hanging below, right? So you put that input, it takes like a millisecond to come in. So you kind of have to think ahead of what the aircraft's going to do and make your inputs. So the tendency is, when you first learn, is to over-control the aircraft and get behind it. But she's very maneuverable, even for this type of rotor system. Alrighty, so we'll climb back up. We'll head on back. If you can you can take your right hand and come on the stick with me here, the cyclic. Just get a feel of the inputs here, right? So right now I'm pitching for an airspeed. So the nose wants to come up, we add a little bit of forward cyclic. See if you can pitch to maintain 65 miles an hour. I'm sure you guys fly like in ultralights like that. You can fly on an airspeed. You can see how loose it gets, right? Feel like it's all over the place. I make it look easy, but there's a lot going on in there, second nature. So the nose comes down, a little aft cyclic. and then low forward cycling. You see that? You got to anticipate it. So it is like it's not like a tight, airplane input. It's almost sloppy. It feels sloppy. But that's just the nature of the design. And give me a little bit of a right turn. You don't have to step on the pedals or anything. You're just all in the cyclic. There you go. Good. And now let's see if you can level off at 600 feet, maintain 600. You're all on the cyclic. It's all you.
So it's a 0 Echo Romeo, you can execute clear time out and contact runway departure.
This was 550 Echo Romeo, contact on our departure. Thank you.
Space Coast Tower, helicopter 8006 Alpha.
Helicopter 8006 Alpha, Space Coast Airport, I-95 inbound.
Report I-95 inbound, helicopter 06 Alpha with Oscar.
Roger.
All right, just follow these power lines now.
29 Echo Bravo, holding short of runway.
You're going to keep the power lines off your right side. And you're going to go towards those white and red stacks.
Techno 39 Echo Bravo, runway 36, approved for northbound departure.
Very good, you got that. The altitude flying is usually the easiest, especially if you're a fixed wing pilot. It's not that hard to learn, right?
Right.
In forward flight, it flies very similar to a fixed wing. Once you get all these power settings set, you're in a little bit of a climb. Try to level off at 700 and hold that.
Level off, I'm giving it forward.
Yeah, so if you see yourself in a climb, you just add a little bit of forward cyclic to maintain the needle at 700. Your primary pitch instrument right now is your altimeter. This little gauge gives you everything too. Very good, man. You got that real quick. When it's calm out, you don't have to put a lot of inputs like when it's windier out. You'll find yourself moving it more to maintain your altitude. But when it's really windy out, the helicopter kind of rides the wave up and down, and you're making inputs to keep the fuselage level on the horizon. But the tendency of a helicopter in forward flight is to be nose down. And you can see that on that attitude indicator. It's always like a little nose down for forward flight. And then it's forward cyclic, and then take a little bit of it out. There you go, and you got it. See, you got it. You've been doing that all on your own for a few minutes now. A little forward cyclic, hold it, and then aft cyclic, hold it, and forward cyclic. See?
That's the wind making us go up.
That's the wind making us go up.
Helicopter 06 Alpha, runway 36, clear lane.
Runway 36 cleared to land, and we'll exit at Charlie, helicopter 06 Alpha. Okay, I have all controls. Good job. Good job. We'll go down there, we'll hover a little bit, just show you how that is. Don't expect to hover in the first hour. It's not going to happen. But, we'll talk about the controls real quick. 21 minutes. Perfect.
This is an active tower here.
Space Coast Tower, Cessna 522 Foxtrot. We're 7 miles
Yep,
south.
Class D airspace. Yep.
Inbound to land with the option.
So it's a
522 Foxtrot, Space Coast ready to Helicopter 06 Alpha, you want to go direct to the ramp?
Yeah, if that'll work, yeah, we can go direct to the southeast T hangar ramp. I'll make the south and north approach.
Helicopter 06 Alpha, land at the south T hangar ramp will be general risk. Winds are 3304.
Okay, landing my own risk, the southeast T hangar ramp, helicopter 06 Alpha, thanks.
So it's a 522 Foxtrot, Space Coast Star, make straight approach to runway 36, report 2 my final.
We'll make a straight approach for 36, report a 2 mile final, 522.
So it's a little bit different in a helicopter. You kind of come in belly first versus nose first, like you're used to in a fixed wing, right? You're used to pointing your nose down towards your runway and then you flare.
Helicopter 500 Mike Zulu.
In a helicopter, you kind of come in belly first. So this attitude here, and a decelerative attitude as you make your approach into your landing area. So it's a little bit different coming from fixed wing.
0 Mike Zulu, Roger, report left midfield downwind for the field.
Left midfield downwind for the field, 0 Mike Zulu.
Space Coast Tower, Technum 39 Echo Bravo, we're exiting airspace, request frequency change.
Second 9 Echo Bravo, frequency approved.
Hey, thank you for your help today, frequency change approved, Echo Bravo.
And you can see that transition from forward to hover flight there. You know, that's usually how we try to train guys. Some guys like to come in really fast and flare at the bottom like in an auto rotation state just in case, but you know, when you're going into confined areas, you need to come in nice and slow and stable like that. All right, so we're going to talk about the flight controls for a couple of minutes here and then we'll set it down, shut it down. All right, so the first control I like to show people is the cyclic. You played with that already. So the cyclic, we're going to come up to about 3-4 feet. Controls our position over the ground, right? So if we start drifting forward, I'm going to add a little aft cyclic and then back to the sweet spot. I call it the sweet spot. It's not necessarily centered, but the sweet spot is where the natural tendency of the cyclic is to come back to. So when I say to make an input, I'll say go aft and then center, or forward and center back to your sweet spot. And then if we want to slide to the left in a helicopter, we can slide left.
Runway 36, clear for touch, go after touch, go make a right close.
Slide to the right. Let me turn that radio down real quick. I'm going to set it down.
Clear to land on
I got to yell at you when he's talking.
So it's 22 Foxtrot.
All right. Good. So we don't have to worry about him screaming in our ears. So when we pick her up, we do a nice slow stage pickup. Come on up. All right. So what we're saying with the cyclic here, it controls our position over the ground. So we can slide to the right. We can slide to the left. We can go forward. We can go backwards. So we can go in all 4 directions. Left, right, forward, and back. The pedals control the direction of the nose, so I'm adding right pressure. Little left pressure. And you see I'm dancing on the pedals. It's just pressure, counter pressure. The collective controls the up and the down, right? So collective goes up, collective comes down. When you add collective, you got to squeeze this motorcycle grip throttle. You got to add a little throttle as you add drag to the rotor system. And as I take drag out, reducing the collective, I roll a little off. And when I say roll, it's like a couple millimeters you're moving it, not much. So that's all 4 controls in a nutshell, what it's doing. All right, so come on the cyclic with me. Right here. Just feel what I'm doing. This nice snow controls. And I'm going to give you control. You have the cyclic. Just try to hold that position there. Little forward stick. Little aft stick. There you go. Little aft stick. Hold it for a second. You can see what I was saying with the pendulum action.
Yeah.
Little aft stick and hold it. Right there, let it calm down. Little aft stick, we're going to come backwards a little bit, so a little aft center, aft center, aft center, and then maybe a little forward and center to stop the movement. There you go, you're flying. stick there, hold it. I'm going to bring you back over here. I have control. All right, let's try to hold it right here. All right, you have control, the cyclic. I have control. There's a helicopter coming in. You see that, MD-500? Nice. All right. Let's talk about the pedals now. So put your feet on the pedals. All right, the nose goes to the left. I add a little bit of right pedal. And then I relax that pressure. And I want to point at that red and white building there, right? That's where I want you to keep it. So if I want the nose go to the right, I add a little right pressure. And we go to the taxi sign, Charlie Alpha. I want the nose to come back to the left. I relax a little bit of the right pressure, back to that building. So you notice it's like pressure, counter pressure, right? You shouldn't lock your feet on the pedals. You should be thinking I'm dancing. I'm adding a little right pressure, a little left pressure, a little right pressure. So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you the pedals and I want you to keep the nose pointed at that red and white building for now. So right pressure. You feel how you add the pressure and take it off? You got to be relaxed on the left foot though because you'll be fighting yourself. So don't be locked up on that left foot. There you go. And just keep us pointed at that building. All right. We're going to do 45 degrees to the right, point at the Charlie Alpha taxi sign. There you go. Back to the left a little bit to the building. There you go, hold that. Back to the right. Okay, hold that. Good, I have all controls, relax on the pedals. All right, now we're going to talk about the collective. All right, put your left hand on the collective lever, this lever here. All right, so when we want to go up, we add a little collective and we can squeeze a little throttle on like that. And when we lower it, we squeeze a little throttle off and we come back down. You see how the rotor RPM correlates to the throttle input? You can actually make the helicopter go up and down without even moving the collective. So we're climbing, I'm going to roll the throttle down. Watch what happens to the helicopter. She starts descending. And I add throttle and she starts climbing up. So it's correlated to each other. So when you add collective, you have to add a little bit of the throttle. And when you reduce collective, you got to reduce the throttle to keep it at 100%. But you can use more RPM to increase lift and you'll climb. And then roll the throttle down and you reduce RPM and you descend. And you see I barely moved the collective there. So what I want you to do is just hold us here at this altitude. I'll manage the throttle. You don't have to do that for now. And just up and down on the collective lever to keep us here. All right, pull up on it a little bit. There you go. Stop. Nice and easy, coming down. You just creep it down. Creeping down, creeping down, creeping down. Hold that position. There you go, you pulled back up on it. That's it, see that? And then come back down. Hold position. Good. So you got a feel for that, right? And then you're using all four controls. I have all controls to maintain a hover. All right, so one last thing I want to show you, the big danger susceptible thing in a hover with a tailwind is if you have more than about 8 to 10 knots of hovering with the tailwind, it's going to kick your tail up and your nose into the dirt. So I show guys this. I come up to a high hover. If I have a high tailwind, I'm going to have a lot of aft cyclic right here, full aft cyclic, and then I have to spin back into the wind. You can lose control of your aircraft if you hover with the tailwind more than 8 to 10 knots in this aircraft. You saw how I had full stick in the gut, and it would still keep going forward if we didn't keep spinning around. So I'll show you one more time, just so you know that's a big danger in a hover with these things. People have wrecked their helicopters. You get into the tailwind, where there it is, right there. I got a lot of aft cyclic, and it's hard to hold it here, so you want it back into the wind. boom, she weather vanes right back in there naturally anyway. Okay? So some of the things we're considering when we're hovering. We'll set it down a beam of the cart here, and we'll shut her down. All right, how was that? You like it, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the 160 UF couldn't do some of the things we did, so the takeoffs wouldn't be like that. We'd just have to stay very low to the ground if we were doing a takeoff and we need to run up an area. We'd have to be really close to the ground in ground effect for, you know, about 1 to 3 feet, accelerate, and then climb out. You have to get forward airspeed in those 162Fs. Hovering with 2 guys like us in the summertime, we couldn't have full fuel. We'd have to be like half tanks. And then you'd have full throttle the whole time. I mean, that thing is like pulling all the guts it has. It's capable. It's just, it doesn't have any power reserve, and you can't do the vertical takeoffs on it. So I'm telling you guys, I mean, you got it. The turbo is like a game changer for performance on this aircraft. It gives you ample, adequate reserve power, and it keeps you out of trouble, allows you to do confined area operations, where you can take off out of, you know, surrounded by trees and all that kind of good stuff when you need it. 162Fs, by yourself you can do it, but you're not going to be able to do it with a passenger. And the turbo, special considerations here is we're cooling everything down, because you can see that the oil temperature gets up there, especially even on a cool day. In the summertime, you know, it's not unusual to see 220, 230 on the oil temperature. Red line's 250 on this. So cooling is definitely an issue. These things are not designed to hover for an hour. People want to go out and hover for an hour, you know. And what I do is I'll do 5 to 10 minutes of hovering. We'll do a traffic pattern just to cool the aircraft down. And, you know, that's how I usually build up guys for learning how to hover. Because especially in the summertime, it is hot. You're just miserable trying to just sit there and hover. At forward flight, you got airflow. It's good. On a 90-degree day with the doors off, it's actually quite comfortable in this aircraft. Say again?
A lot of process.
There is, yep. A lot going on, yep. And the cool down takes a while. I mean, we were hovering here for a while, so things got hot. But you're doing that to save your engine, the longevity, you know, thermal expansion. You don't want to just shock cool it and shut it down right away. You want things to nice, slowly cool down. And this is how you're going to, I mean, they're saying 1,000 hours TVO out of these machines, so